awesome.
Yeah.
And then with the intervals, it was all about, like, even when we were doing the 12K, it's like 90 seconds rest top.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
I mean, and when we go, even with the 2Ks, it was like 90 seconds rest,
Yeah.
you know? And so it's usually 10 to 12,000 meters worth of work for intervals, and then until we got to the 5Ks, 3x5K, and that would be 15K, obviously.
Yeah.
And then, but that, like, we would run, it was more like half marathon type stuff. Like, I mean, like, I would finish the last 5K in like 14:55 or something.
Yeah.
You know, like, you're like, and that's sort of like the sweet spot. So he'll say, let's start at 15:10, you know, and then kind of, so you're like 72s ish, 73s, you know, and
that's all on the track.
All on the track. I mean, when we trained over in Kenya, obviously, the track there is, you're better off just running on the roads. Yeah. So, or the trail, it's like dirt paths. So
that's what George was talking about. He was like the 15 by 1K was like seemed to be like something they always would do.
Yeah.
You know?
We'd do the interval like on a Tuesday, come back on Thursday or Friday and do 25 by minute on, minute off.
Yeah.
So it's fartlek, but the off minute was up tempo, and that's the thing is when we first started doing the workout, we were doing it like 400-meter repeats, you know, and like you're doing like the slow spinner jog in between, and they're like, "Hey, minutes up, okay, go."
Right.
And Rosa came and he's like, "No.
You keep
running."
running.
He's like, it's about. He wanted to know total distance covered in the 50 minutes.
Oh wow.
And so it matters. It mattered. You're going,
still probably sub 6 on your.
Oh, for sure. Recovery sub 6. And so it's all about, your heart rate never really gets down. So it's all about just getting used to
switching gears.
What happens in a race when you're not pacing to a time, you're actually racing a race. So you get that, like, the ebbs and flows of the pace, and you're going fast, you're going slow, and getting your body used to that sort of thing. But that workout, I mean, and I would even do it, I would combine when I was training by myself, and sometimes in the group, he let me start to do it. We would combine the long run and the fartlek. So rather than marathon, we wouldn't do the marathon sim every week because you can't run race pace for the last 10 miles every week, or you're thrashed. And so every other week was like just standard long run, kind of whatever. But I started mixing. We would do like 12. I would do like 12 or 13 miles, and then go, okay, now it's a minute on, minute off for the next hour. You know, so it's like that sort of thing. 30 by minute on, minute off. And again, it's just whatever you can do. But even with the long runs, in order to break up the monotony, like we'll go an hour steady or like 70 minutes steady, and then Terrence would have us do every 5-minute block, let's go for 90 seconds at the start of the 5-minute block. So timer goes off, so 90 seconds, let's do race pace. And then you have a good break, you know, or whatever, and you kind of settle back in, and chimes again, 90 seconds at race pace. And then you start off and you're doing, like, when you're not fit at all, let's do 30 seconds at race pace. And then let's do a minute. And then, you get up to 90, and then you're like, okay, let's do 2 minutes at race pace. And then it's 3 minutes recovery, and then 2 minutes at race pace, 3 minutes recovery. So that's all
doing every 5?
Every 5 minutes.
Every 5.
Yeah. So, and then you just set the timer, and when it chimes, it's like game on.
And I saw stuff with you doing like 29, 30 miles, and is that typical for you? Like long?
When we're building up for something longer, like it's pretty standard. I mean, in like getting ready for a 50K, you do like 30, 31. I mean, coach, when we're training for the marathon, Terrence is like, okay, I'm gonna give you one 30-miler because I know you just like it. And I'm like, thanks.
But you don't need it. Like, we're not giving it to you for that. Yeah.
Right. And he's like, I know you draw a lot of confidence from this. And like, that's the thing. It all depends, like, mentally too. Like, I like going over distance. And I like running 30 miles and knowing, like, dude, I ran 6-minute pace or under 6-minute pace for 30, and I felt easy, and going over the hill and dale and up at altitude, and you're like, I draw a ton of confidence from that.
Yeah, mentally, like, it's 26. I've done 4 more than that in training. Like,
totally. I fueled all the way through. I ran, 5:30 pace at the end, or 5:10 pace, or turned the screws and ran a 5-minute mile at the end, like that sort of thing. It's I draw a ton of confidence on that because my strength is my strength. But you have guys that are like track background, and they're like, "Can we please rip some mile repeats? Like, I want to run 4:12 because it's gonna make me feel better."
And that's their confidence.
Yeah, and that's where they and so. And then I get drugged to the 4:16 or whatever. What am I doing? But it's every training outing has to have a purpose, and that's the thing. I think a lot of people, they line up and they go, okay, what's the workout today? Okay, great. Like, it's quarter repeats or K repeats or whatever. But if you're trying to run 14:35 for 5,000, then you need to be able to run 70 seconds a lap. That's the pace. And so everything that you do in the repeats has to be faster than that, because it's interval, tempo, long run. And so the interval is all about just getting as efficient as you can at sub-race pace. And making, like, if you're trying to run 5 minutes, make 4:40 feel comfortable. And then, so you do that, and then so when you're running the 5, you go,
so it does feel okay.
If it feels okay. And that's the thing. It's like, we get those, and I know you get them too. It's like, that's just like an all-out sprint the whole way. And you're like, yes, it is.
Yes,
like, not real.
So, how was the shortest on the on intervals? What's the shortest you guys go? Do you guys do hundreds? Do you ever do?
So like getting ready for an interval session, we'll always do like 200s or 300s just to get the body kind of firing and get the legs going. So we'll start off, and I mean it's apart from the traditional strides, because we all go out for a 25-minute warm up. Some guys go 20, some guys 25. I like doing 30 or even 35. Like, I just keep running the whole time. And then I'll go and do like eight strides, about 60 to 80 meters, just getting to top speed and kind of getting the body going. And then we'll change into our flats, and then sometimes it'll be like 2 by 300 meters, or like 3 by 200 meters, or like something, or like even a quarter and like a 200 or something, just to start, just to get everything firing. The day before, something that has helped a ton is the day before workout day. So we're running twice a day, pretty much every day. The evening run before the morning interval, tempo, or long run. At the end of the evening run, it's basically like 10 to 15 seconds all out, and we do that like 8 times, and it's full recovery. I mean, it's like, you're just like, I'm gonna get going as fast as I possibly can go, and just get firing and get everything neuromuscularly, get everything just like popping, and like then
it's like you're setting yourself up beforehand. Okay.
You're telling your body, and like physiologically, there's a lot to it. And Terrence is giving me the long answer. Andrew Castor's giving me the long answer. There's a lot to it, just getting the systems and the synapses and all this stuff. But all I care about is like, what's gonna make me run fast?
Work.
What's gonna work?
Okay, it works.
And it works. And so full buy-in. So
in the morning, the next morning when you do the workout, are you guys always doing on the double days, the hard workout in the morning?
Pretty much always. I mean, unless someone, because that's when all the races are. So it's like, you got to get your body ready.
Waking up and hammering.
That's it. And like occasionally, like a couple days a week, like 2 days a week, now that we have a track, like we'll go to the track rather than doing like 50, 60 meter hills or something. Like, it's a lot of stuff. I mean, if you hung out, it's like, you'd see us we do like 10 by 40 meter hill, and it's like, or 60 meter hill, and it's like all out, and that's in the afternoon. It's full recovery. You kind of jog or walk back to the start, and it's fun, and you're getting some turnover, or it's like a 30-second hill or something. But it's just to get everything firing, but you're not going into this massive death. Like you would.
It's not sustained effort where you're just
and
training the body.
And that's it. And so you can never get too far away. Like, even running these longer things that I want to do, 50 mile, 100K, you can never get away from that marathon speed, and really you can't get away from the mile speed, and that the quarter speed. I mean, it all comes down to like being able to run repeats at running a 60 or a sub 60 quarter or a 62-second quarter or a 64-second quarter, you go, well, what parallel does this have? But when you go to run a half marathon and you're trying to run 4:40 pace or whatever, or the first mile's at 4:35, then like, okay, you've actually logged some work at that 4:15 pace, and so there's huge value to it, and so you never want to get away, you never want to lose the speed, and
there's something about like that. It's the body's max speed, like getting that stride into what you would have to the movement patterns of what it takes to actually achieve your maximum speed at any given distance. Right?
Totally.
So,
and I mean, stretching, it's the cheater's way to do the hamstring stretch is sprinting. It's like, because when
you open it up,
when you're out there, your stride is totally different. Right. And whenever I say this or like tweet it or whatever, it's like it makes people mad, but it's long, slow distance makes long, slow runners. And if you want to run fast, you have to run fast. And it's like, it's not rocket science. It's just like, dude, this is you. Number one rule on race day: don't do anything new. Don't do anything new on race day. So you can't ask yourself to come up with this great finishing kick if you've never sprinted before. Like, I mean, it's impossible. And so it's all about developing the body and just getting the body as efficient as possible at all these varying paces. And then so you have interval work, getting efficient at faster than race pace, tempo, which is like, let's dial in race pace. The goal is to run as many miles as possible at your race pace, because you want to get as efficient at that race pace as possible, and efficient as possible at fueling at that race pace. So I was just speaking at a sports nutrition conference in New York after the marathon, and they fly in all these people from all over the world, and they're talking about like doing in training and that, and the missing component that I brought up was, look, it's not about just fueling when you're out there. It's fueling at your race pace, because it's
totally different.
Totally different.
The way your body's processing everything.
Well, and you have sitting here, that flatbread I was eating on the way over from the truck, which was awesome. It's like when I'm sitting here versus eating versus out there running 5-minute pace or 5:10 pace and trying to get fuel in, I have 80% less blood in my stomach aiding in digestion when I'm out there running than I do sitting here.
Right.
So like, because all the blood's shunted to your working muscles, and so you go. Everyone's like, well, I get sick when I try and fuel. It's like, well, you have to train. You literally
train to fuel. That's part of your training is fueling. Yeah.
You have to. I worked with a guy. This guy, Asker, you can drop. He's this big sports scientist guy, and he worked with Powerbar for a long time. He developed the C2 Max blend and all that. He's actually working for Gatorade now, but he's a genius guy, and he worked with Haile Gebrselassie when he was setting his marathon world records and stuff. And he shared with me the slide and the documents, and he spoke at this other. He wasn't there in New York, but he was at the one previous in Colorado Springs, and he was breaking it down. He's like, Haile would just do runs on the treadmill and see how many carbohydrates can I get in an hour.
No way.
Like it was just like, let's run the pace and let's just. And he said you have to train your gut. Train your gut to process the stuff, and particularly for like stuff that Ian's doing and these really long things. I mean, it's largely an eating and drinking competition. You have to learn how to fuel. I mean, and particularly in the marathon, it's not about just doing the minimum to get by. It's like, generally speaking, the more carbohydrates you can take in and assimilate, the better you're going to perform.
So I'll tell you what I did in Chicago. I ate 4 hours before the race. I like woke up, set my alarm, ate 4 hours.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything else besides a couple sips of Gatorade until the finish line. And I didn't even take a gel with me.
Wow.
On the course, I didn't even grab a gel.
Wow.
And I just kind of wanted to test it and see what would happen.
Yeah.
I knew the physiology, and I've always taken gels.
Yeah.
And I just...
What'd you run there?
220.
Yeah.
I was good for 20, you know, I was like 5:30, I was like, and I was holding back to 5:30, I was like, I'm just gonna go, you know, 20, I hit the wall, you know, like, but it wasn't a wall, it just got worse and worse, and I knew, I was like, it's game over, you know, it's like, but I kept trying to push it, I dropped down like 6:20 pace, you know, and it was done.
And when it goes bad, it's like,
it's horrible.
Well, and the body can only store so much glycogen. It's like the fuel tank on the Chevy. It's like, dude, you stick the gas in, you're cranking it, and then it's like you drive, but as soon as it runs out, it's out. If you're not fueling it up along the way, and the difference is it's every 15 minutes. I get fuel every 5K, but like for me that's 15 or 16 minutes. So, but for mortals and people that are out there running 4 hours or 5 hours or whatever, you have to. It's best to fuel every 15 minutes.
So every 15 minutes, every 5K, how many calories do you try to get in every 15 minutes?
Well, we're spoiled, as you know, and you've had the luxury too with the bottles. So I put 1 power gel in 5 ounces of water, and I shake it up. I use vanilla for the first all the way until 25K, and then at 30K I go caffeinated. I go the double latte, double caffeine, and I take a double caffeinated gel about 10 minutes before the start as well, and then that morning it's normally 3.5 hours ahead of time. I'm coffee. I'm a cup of white rice and half a performance bar, and then I'm sipping on some Perform, just the electrolyte formula power bar, and then I'm sipping on that, and then before the start, about half an hour before, I go to water, and then I'll have a gel about 10 minutes before, and then it's every 5K. I'm trying to get in the whole bottle.
I was going to ask you take the whole thing down, or you just try?
You try. I mean, and that's the thing where I was talking with one of my training partners, and he's like, dude, just mix it in beforehand. Yeah. It's like, because I was taping them on the outside, and it's Ryan. He's like, dude, just put it in. He's good to shake it. And I did try it in a run, and I was like, oh, this totally works, way better. So it's something when you're taking the gel and you're trying to squeeze it, you're normally not going to get it all out anyway, particularly when you're out there running. So it's twofold benefit. One, I don't have to rip it open and do the whole water and that thing. But the night before, I can actually get everything out, and so I know this 5 ounces of water, this is what I need to drink in order to fuel best. But dude, it's like when I ran at Rock and Roll Arizona in 2011, when I ran this race.
I was there. I watched you. Yeah. 2:17 through the finish line.
Yeah.
And then 5 more.
Yeah. And the thing was, everything was perfect, except that I didn't know who was going to be there. I wanted to win the overall title too for the marathon, and Joseph Applewhite, 2-time NCAA champ from Arkansas, is a U.S. citizen now. He's just second at U.S. Nationals. They flew him out to pace me. So his job was 17, 18. He's like, I might be able to go 20. We got to 16 miles, and what was it, 17? Yeah, it was 16 miles, and there were still 3 other Kenyans with us, and I just slapped him on the butt, and I was like, let's go. It was 5:15 per mile, whatever, but I was like, we gotta drop these guys. They're hanging around. So we went 19. Well, he stopped at around 17 or 18, and for that 4-mile segment, I went 19:53, and so it's which is just under 2:11 minutes. So when you talk about preserving the glycogen, it's like a car. When you floor it and you're driving 100 or 90 versus 65 on cruise. 65 on cruise, that's the most efficient way to race. If you're trying to get your time, I always tell people there's no such thing as banking time in the marathon. It's run even splits. Whatever.
I read that when you wrote that, and I have not stopped doing that since.
Dude, it's money in the bank. And people they try and bank time in the marathon and get that 2-minute buffer, a 3-minute buffer, and it's like, look, if you look historically at the fastest times, so course records, national records, world records, it's even or negative splits, and that's the way they're run. So, and if you're feeling good that last 10K, you can make it happen.